Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Coming up today.
Was your flight canceled?
It was.
Yes. So what now?
So we rebooked.
Yeah, we scrambled.
COVID-19 and severe weather in some areas causing a flight nightmare across the U.S. as delays and cancellations affect holiday travel. A new wave of organized crime is sweeping America.
This has a lot of implications, not to mention the impact it's having on tourism, not to mention the impact it's having on conventions wanting to come into the state.
We take you to California, where smash and grab thefts are at an all-time high. And later, a small church in Mexico became a refuge for thousands of migrants. We take you through the doors of the church. All these stories and more are coming up next.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin this half hour with air travelers facing headwinds heading home after the Christmas holiday, with thousands of flights canceled as the OMICRON variant of COVID-19 spreads among airline crews. George Thomas has this look at the travel chaos in our top story.
The travel woes from coast to coast aren't getting any better as the week kicks off.
I'll probably just end up getting a hotel and then try out in the morning.
As of early this morning, FlightAware, the website that tracks flights across the globe, says more than 2,100 flights have been canceled in the United States alone today, with Delta, United, SkyWest, and American experiencing the most cancellations.
We left the house at 7 o'clock Friday morning, and we just got back here half an hour ago.
And you have yet to actually be on vacation.
True, but we did sleep in a hotel room.
In all, more than 8,000 flights affected globally since the start of the Christmas weekend on Friday, with U.S. and Chinese destinations hardest hit.
Where are you guys heading?
Michigan.
And was your flight canceled?
It was.
Yes.
So what now?
So we rebooked.
Yeah, we scrambled.
The scramble happening just as the Christmas period, typically one of the busiest for the travel industry, hitting the same time as the Omicron variant surges.
United and Delta have been vocal in admitting that many of these cancellations are because of COVID.
Airlines forced to cancel because pilots and cabin crew are in self-isolation.
If you see a lot of people getting sick, you can assume that some of those folks work at the airline you're supposed to fly this week.
And it's not just the pandemic that's causing all the travel havoc. On the ground, a major snowstorm closed key highways in Northern California and Nevada.
It's crazy.
The same white stuff hitting parts of Western Washington as well.
I'm stuck in my driveway and can't get out.
It's beautiful, but it's a little too much.
In Mount Vernon, Washington, city crews working around the clock to keep streets safe. But it could be a while before things totally clear out.
Hunker down, stay warm. I mean, we lost power a couple times yesterday. Hopefully it doesn't wreak havoc again.
Despite the travel headaches due to COVID and weather, consumers were still in the mood to spend this holiday season. New retail numbers saw an 8.5% jump over last year. Online sales were up 11% and in-store sales up 8% between November 1st and Christmas Eve. George Thomas, CBN News.
Health officials are concerned the Omicron variant of COVID-19 is spreading more rapidly after millions gathered with family for the holidays. Dr. Anthony Fauci warns Americans should not become complacent.
When you have such a high volume of new infections, it might override a real diminution in severity.
The Omicron variant is leaving thousands of Americans sick each day. 170,000 children were infected just last week. That is up 28% in the last 2 weeks. And now there are new concerns about COVID testing demands, which are getting higher. Health experts say being vaccinated and boosted is one of the best defenses against getting severely ill from COVID-19. A new wave of organized crime is sweeping America. Mobs are carrying out smash and grab thefts in some cases, making off with hundreds of thousands of dollars in merchandise. This trend has retailers beefing up security and customers looking over their shoulders. As CBN's Chuck Holton shows us, California is ground zero of this new state of anarchy.
Shoplifting has been a growing problem across America for some time, and now experts say these brazen smash and grab robberies are being organized on social media and present a new kind of challenge from high-end stores to corner pharmacies. Los Angeles has been especially hard hit, seeing more than 20,000 property crimes per month this year. And it's not just organized retail theft. This map shows vehicle break-ins over just 3 days in December, adds stolen cars, assaults, and other crimes, and you can see why certain California politicians are waking up to the idea that defunding the police might not be such a great option after all.
Our residents are suffering, and we need to be different, to act with urgency, and to be aggressive.
Residents, however, say these politicians are all but encouraging this trend with soft-on-crime policies.
Part of it, to be fair, is probably more people are in trouble economically, in part from the lockdown. But if I had to guess, I think more of it is there's an atmosphere of impunity in Los Angeles. People know they can get away with what they want to get away with. But this to me is not liberal by a progressive standard or by mine. This is disorder and fear and always having to look over your shoulder and knowing the police don't have your back at all.
There are tens of thousands of people here tonight at the Grove Shopping Center, one of the most high-end shopping centers in Los Angeles. As they're doing their last-minute shopping, you can imagine the security here is a nightmare. But when a flash mob robbery happened at the Nordstrom store behind me recently, there was really nothing the security could do about it. After enduring months of lockdowns and now attacks by organized gangs, retailers are wondering how much more they can take.
So when we're not protecting our shopping malls, we're not protecting our strip malls, when we're letting this behavior continue, it's kind of another whammy to the small businesses and small retailers who are still trying to recover from being shut down by the government, a year ago because of COVID. So this has a lot of implications, not to mention the impact it's having on tourism, not to mention the impact it's having on conventions wanting to come into the state.
The rising lawlessness only adds to other issues like rampant homelessness and high taxes that are causing businesses as well as residents to leave the state in record numbers. Last year, the population of California declined for the first time in recorded history.
We'll be leaving in a little over a year. We would have left already if it weren't for my job, like a lot of people. Other places have good restaurants, other places have beaches, other places have good weather. So they had to work very hard to make California a place that wasn't worth it, because it's that good when it's good, but it's not worth it anymore.
Chuck Holton, CBN News, Los Angeles, California.
Here's a quick look right now at some other stories we're following for you in the CBN newsroom today. 2 dams broke Sunday in Brazil, causing major flooding and forcing thousands to flee their home. At least 50 cities have been hit since early November. 18 people are dead, 2 people are missing, and more than 19,000 people are displaced. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett announced plans Sunday to double the number of settlers living in the Golan Heights. Bennett told a special cabinet session the move was prompted by the Trump administration's recognition of Israeli sovereignty over the land and the Biden administration indicating it will not change that decision. Israel occupied the Golan Heights in the 1967 Mideast War and later annexed the territory. Nobel Peace Prize winning icon Bishop Desmond Tutu died Sunday. He is viewed as the man with South Africa's moral conscience. He passionately worked to tear down apartheid, South Africa's brutal regime of opposition against its black majority that ended in 1994. Bishop Tutu was also the first black bishop of Johannesburg and the Anglican Archbishop of Cape Town. People brought flowers to Cape Town's St. George Cathedral to honor him. Desmond Tutu was 90 years old. Iran boasts it can strike Israel anywhere it wants with no fear of the United States. The Islamic regime even published a map of the Jewish state with a list of specific targets. But Israel is preparing to take on Iran alone. It is not counting on America's support after the administration's disastrous pullout from Afghanistan and its desperation for a nuclear deal with Iran. Chris Mitchell reports on this now from Jerusalem.
When Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz met with U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin recently, he reportedly presented a timeline for an attack on Iran's nuclear program, telling Lloyd Israel is preparing for the Iranian challenge at the operational level. In an article called Just One Wrong Move, the state-affiliated Tehran Times boasted that Iran can hit Israel anywhere. To drive home the point, the story included a map showing selected targets. In this equation, a big question sticks out. How do these foes view the U.S.?
I think the picture is clear that the Iranians see that the United States they don't have to fear the United States, and they're continuing to escalate their program. And in return for the escalation, all they get is more and more concessions to the administration.
National security expert Michael McCoskey has recently talked with a number of Israeli military leaders.
They feel they're alone. They know they're alone. They see a U.S. that is withdrawing from the region, retreating, afraid of confrontation, desperate for a deal, not able to instill fear in the Iranians. And they feel the responsibility is going to be on them, the Israeli military, to prevent a nuclear Iran.
Makovsky says these Israeli military leaders perceive a growing weakness. They cite the Afghan pullout, U.S. reluctance to stand up against Iranian provocations, and an eagerness to enter into a flawed nuclear deal. In the meantime, the IDF needs the U.S. to speed up help in the form of military tools to take on Iran, like KC-46 air tank refuelers.
That's not the only thing Israel needs, by the way. They also need precision-guided munitions. They need more F-35s, F-15Is, some helicopters, things like that. I would not only accelerate delivery to Israel of this, I would make a show of it. It would be a signal to the Iranians.
While the Pentagon is moving slowly in that help, Israelis seem prepared for what might be coming. According to a recent poll, over half of Israelis would favor a military strike against Iran, even without U.S. help.
If I was the Prime Minister, I wouldn't wait for the United States. I would take some definitive action now. I don't know if I would bomb right away, but I think as an option B, I think that's probably what I would do. If somebody walks up to you and says, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to kill your whole family, would you wait for that to happen, or would you take some definitive action to prevent it?
Due to the situation in Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. Now, we don't care that India have nuclear weapons or Afghanistan, but Iran is a different thing. It's ideology of destroying the Jewish country. And the last time somebody had this ideology, he killed almost all of the Jewish people.
I don't think the IDF leadership harbors any illusions that the United States will take care of this problem. I do believe when it comes down to it, they're going to have no choice. I think the U.S. policy has been only to bring us closer to war. I believe the chances are more likely than not that the Israelis will do something militarily to prevent a nuclear Iran. I just think they know they cannot live with a nuclear Iran. The question is what is their red line?
Whatever that red line might be, it appears to be getting closer. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Still ahead, a small church in Mexico becomes a place of refuge for migrants. We're going to take you through the doors of this sanctuary. Coming up, stay with us. A God-given dream, that's what led Gustavo Banda to start a small church in Tijuana, Mexico. He and his wife never imagined it would become a refuge for tens of thousands of migrants seeking freedom in America. Yet that is exactly what happened. Here again is George Thomas to bring us that story.
6 miles from Tijuana and a short distance from the U.S.-Mexico border lies one of this city's poorest neighborhoods.
This area is on the outskirts of the city. Not everyone knows about it. Not everyone wants to come here either.
It's easy to see why. There are no paved roads. The hillside is strewn with garbage. There's no sewage system here, and crime is rampant.
When we moved here, there were only cows, horses, chickens, and people with a lot of needs.
In 2011, Gustavo Banda and his wife, Zaida Gulen, moved to Canon de Alacran, or Scorpion's Canyon, after hearing from the Lord in a dream.
It was a clear mandate from God to move here, even though there was absolutely nothing in this place.
Teachers by trade, the Mexican couple were touched by the overwhelming needs of the community. Most folks here were poor subsistence farmers.
God gave me a dream that I had to build a church. We worked for 8 months, day and night. We knew God was going to do something special, but nobody had a clue about what really was going to happen.
That year, Templo Embajadores de Jesus, or Ambassadors of Jesus, was born in the heart of Scorpions Canyon. Banda held services on Sunday, then hit the rugged roads the rest of the week, going house to house, ministering to physical and spiritual needs.
We shared the love of Jesus with them. It was a mandate from God that we had to go to the poor.
In 2016, that focus drastically changed when thousands of Haitians, escaping poverty and back-to-back natural disasters, began to carve a dangerous 7,000-mile path to the U.S.-Mexico border. Many landed on the church's doorsteps, less than 30 minutes from the San Isidro border.
Within months, 22,000 Haitians had arrived in the city of Tijuana.
The church became a place of refuge.
I did not know, nor did I ever imagine, that there would be so many people in the church.
Since then, Banda has opened his church doors to migrants from all parts of the world.
It started with migrants coming from Haiti, Africa, Pakistan, and the Middle East. Today, we mainly have people from El Salvador, Guatemala, Ecuador, Nicaragua, Colombia, and some from Mexico. It's hard to tell, but we estimate about 35,000 people have come through the church, easily.
1,200 were staying in the church the day CBN News visited.
We feed them 3 times a day. We try to help them with all their needs. At nighttime, the entire church becomes one big giant dorm, where everyone sets up their beds on the floor, and sometimes there's no room to even walk on the floor.
Redding Castillo from Honduras has been here for 4 months. He says gangs killed his father and threatened to take his life as well.
Thank God that I'm not in danger anymore. They are not sending me the threatening messages like they used to.
24-year-old Jacqueline Ortiz from Guatemala is here with her 2 girls.
I'm so thankful to God because if these doors of the church weren't open, I don't know where I would be. I don't go hungry here. My daughters don't go hungry. We have a warm place, we have a roof, and all thanks to God and to the people that help us.
Most migrants stay here an average of 6 months before trying to legally cross the border. Church volunteers run a school for the children, oversee computer training, and provide other skills that will help migrants prepare for their new life in America. Area churches and NGOs also pitch in with food and other essential supplies.
The most important thing for the migrants to know when they get here is that there is hope, and although they have left their families behind, all of us that are here have become their family.
Come Sunday, everyone picks up their bed and dresses up for a lively church service.
I know that I only have a little bit of time with them, so my job is for them to know as much as they can about Jesus, baptize them, and send them to the United States believing in Jesus.
Pastor Gustavo started the church back in 2011 with no idea that he would be housing thousands of migrants from around the world. So today, 10 years later, a new structure is going up, which will be the future home for the migrants. He once had a desire to be a missionary to Haiti. Not anymore.
I even started learning a little bit of their language, but when I wanted to go to Haiti, Haiti came to me. And after Haiti came, all the other nations started coming to this place. I don't have the numbers, but for years we have been baptizing so many of them, and many more are surrendering to Jesus. And that's my calling now.
George Thomas, CBN News, in Scorpions Canyon, Tijuana, Mexico.
Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch on this Monday, December 27th. We'll be right back. It was a Christmas miracle for about 700 families in Florida as a veteran paid off close to 700 people's late utility bills. Mike Esmond does this traditionally every year. So far, he donated $96,000 over the course of 3 years. The Good Samaritan says he gives because he once lived it.
I actually lived that, where I experienced a time that I had trouble paying bills, and we actually had the gas disconnected, and it happened to be one of the coldest winters we ever had in history.
Again, about 700 utility accounts were cleared in the last few weeks, totaling more than $80,000. Time now for your Monday motivation. I leave you with this thought as we begin the final week of 2021. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, but He is not doing the same. He has new plans for things you've never seen before. Trust Him, even when you can't trace Him and you can't understand His plans or your circumstances. He is God, and He cannot fail. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel at any time or online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. Email us, newswatch@cbn.com, and join us right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody.